Hello, witches, and welcome back. Today is the next video on the elements in Magick. So far, I've done videos on water, air, and fire, and this one will be on the element of earth. I will have another video on spirit coming up before too long, but it might be a bit different from the rest of these element videos. If you enjoy this, I'd love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Each of the four classic elements, water, air, fire, and earth, are the fundamental building blocks of the universe. They represent the various stages or forms of matter. For anyone who hasn't seen the previous element videos I've done, I do suggest you watch those because even though they are each separate videos, they are all part of elemental witchcraft as a whole. I'll try to remember to link them down below. The earth is the foundation of our lives, as it is both our home and our source of sustenance. We see it every day, but often take it for granted. The earth element is ever present and highly versatile, manifesting as both soil and seed, and witnessed in the eternal rhythms of growth, harvest, decay, and regeneration. Earth is the most grounding of the classic elements. Its power keeps us calm and centered in the midst of life's chaotic twists and turns. The earth gives and takes away. It stabilizes us, but also allows us to move forward. It is the element of manifestation and abundance, but can also help to keep the ego balanced. The earth element helps to guide us in self-reflection and personal development. It represents the natural cycles of life. Earth is a receptive and feminine element that is utilitarian and constant. It is associated with material matters, grounding, foundations, stability, inner strength, balance, fertility, health, nurturing, wisdom, self-reflection, abundance, nature, animals, empathy, death and rebirth, connection with the seasons and earth's cycles, growth, and sowing and reaping. The earth element helps you to look at things in a practical way. Earth is represented by the diverse topographical features found all over the planet, including forests, fields, caves, rocks, valleys, and gardens. In ritual, we use a bowl of soil or salt to represent the earth element. You can also use stones, chalk, antlers, leaves or herbs, wood, plants, flowers, nuts, bones, or a green candle. You might focus more on the earth element when casting spells for grounding, fertility, growth, gardening, success, abundance and prosperity, physical and mental health, business and employment opportunities, death and rebirth, when working with crystals, in binding, and in anything related to animals. The element of earth is very versatile and can be used for many things. Earth spells tend to take a bit longer to manifest, but are usually longer lasting. You can also use the astrological signs associated with earth to bring this element into your workings. These are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Like I've mentioned in the other element videos, you don't have to belong to one of these specific signs to work with the earth element, but if you do, you might naturally feel more connected to it and have an easier time. If you want, you can work with the planets while they're passing through these astrological signs too. Usually, the sun will stay in each sign for a little over a month, and the moon will be in each for a few days. You can find calendars online or even phone apps that will tell you when each planet is in each sign, so you can plan out your workings in advance. Each of the classic elements is associated with one of the four cardinal directions. Earth's direction is east. In the pentagram, Earth is usually seen as being the bottom left point. The alchemical symbol is an upside-down triangle with a horizontal line going through it. The main ruling planet of the Earth element is, of course, the Earth itself. Some people also use Saturn to represent the Earth element. You can even use comets for Earth too. Any solid planet or body can be associated with the earth element, as opposed to, say, planets that are made up of gas. As you might expect, the main color associated with earth is green in any shade. You can also use shades of brown, black, or gray. Like with the other elements, there are specific crystals and stones that are associated with the element of earth. Some practitioners believe that almost all crystals can be used to represent the earth because they came from the earth itself. However, there are some that are connected to the earth element more than others. These include hematite, agate, malachite, bloodstone, petrified wood, slate, granite, onyx, tourmaline, geodes, smoky quartz, and other quartzes. Clear quartz is great because you can program it to do anything you want, so you can easily use it for any of the elements or any other purpose. The earth crystals are ones that have weight and texture that relate to the earth element. Now let's talk about metals. Because metals come from the earth, you can really associate all of them with the earth element. However, the two that seem to be the most commonly associated with earth are iron and brass. There are different ways you can work with metals, and if you are a good metalsmith, you could even make your own custom jewelry. I really like to enchant my jewelry using the elements. If you have any iron or brass jewelry, you can enchant them using the earth element. You can do this by setting them in a bowl of soil, surrounding them with stones and crystals, or burying them for a short period of time. If you're burying them, just remember that the soil of the earth will naturally be moist, and the water could damage the metal if it's exposed for too long. Salt can also damage metals and some crystals, so I don't suggest using that with your jewelry. Although all animals live on Earth and could therefore be associated with this element, there are certain ones that are more connected to Earth than others. Any animals that burrow, such as gophers, groundhogs, or moles, are particularly associated with the Earth element. Other animals are livestock, such as sheep, cow, buffalo, ox, goats, chickens, etc., as well as dogs, bears, wolves, and deer. There are also creatures that live in the ground, such as ants, termites, and worms. All bones are strongly associated with the earth element. If you choose to work with bones in your practice, please do so respectfully and make sure they are ethically sourced. Also, check the laws where you live because just owning certain bones, even if you found them naturally outside, can be illegal. You can connect to animals through their imagery on things like oracle cards, photos, printouts, small statues, or even children's toys, and can add these images to your altar. Next are the herbs and plants related to earth. Like with crystals, pretty much all herbs and plants are connected to the earth because that's where they live and grow. Some are more strongly connected though, and those include mushrooms, marshmallow root, ivy, fern, comfrey, patchouli, sage, grains, rice, different seeds, magnolia, honeysuckle, grasses, mugwort, oak moss, primrose, vervain, vetiver, moss and lichens, wood, and most all trees like oak, cedar, and cypress. Trees are wonderful for connecting with the earth because of all the plants, they are the most deeply rooted into the earth itself. Mushrooms are great because they have roots and spores all over the earth and can be fun to go out and look at the different kinds that pop up after a rain. Please be safe though and don't ever eat wild mushrooms because so many look so similar and you could easily end up poisoning yourself and your family. Lots of people will also choose to work with roots because they are literally growing within the soil itself and in some cases are very deeply rooted into the earth. You can use herbs and plants in different ways, such as drying them and infusing them into an oil that you could use for things like dressing candles. You can add herbs to a ritual bath, make custom incense, use them in spellwork or as offerings. When using herbs though, please make sure it's safe to do so. Some plants are toxic, and some can be used safely in certain applications but not in others. Just be sure to do your research. Some people also like to work with the energies of different spiritual beings that are associated with the earth. The earth elementals are gnomes, but you can also choose to work with dwarves, trolls, brownies, as in the type of fae, not the chocolatey dessert, boggarts, hobgoblins, dryads, and leprechauns. You will often hear that if you choose to work with these types of beings, that you need to always do what you've agreed to do, such as leaving offerings, or they could hold a grudge and vex you. In my other element videos, I've discussed the different types of water, the different directions air can blow, and the 3 aspects of fire. For earth, I'm going to talk about the different types of dirt you can work with. One of the most common ones I've heard of that is used in many practices is graveyard dirt. Graveyard dirt can be used for spirit work, protection, warding, binding, as offerings, as an ingredient in banishing powders, in hexes and curses, in ancestor work, and more. Another one is dirt from a bank. You can use this to help aid in workings for prosperity and money or to help receive payment of an overdue debt. Hospital dirt can be used to help aid with healing. Of course, you need to remember that magic isn't a substitute for medical care or prescription medications. Dirt from an educational building, such as a school, can be used for workings involving gaining knowledge and helping retain it. It can also be used to help with studying. There are many ways you can work with the earth element in your practice. There are two ways of thinking about earth magic. First is the magic that we perform specifically for the planet to facilitate its ongoing well-being. The second is magic that's centered around natural materials. Like I mentioned before, you can work with the different items that are associated with the earth element, like the crystals, plants, animals, types of dirt, etc. One of the more obvious ways to connect with the earth would be grounding. Lots of people like grounding and drawing energy from the earth because it's a neutral kind of energy. You don't have to actually be touching the earth to ground, although some people will find that easier. I have a video I did previously on grounding that I'll link below in the description if you want to know more. Another way to connect with the earth is just to spend time outside in nature. One of the easiest ways to experience the healing, grounding energies of earth is to go outside and stand barefoot on the ground. This is sometimes called earthing. Notice how your own energy subtly shifts into a place of more ease and stillness when you're physically connecting with the earth. I sometimes take the phrase tree hugger literally and will place my hands on the trees to feel their energy. You can just hang out in your backyard or a local park or take a walk and help clean up the earth by collecting garbage other people have left behind. Growing and maintaining a magical garden is one of my favorite ways to connect with the earth. Actually getting your hands in the soil and helping plants to grow and thrive can be therapeutic in so many ways. Planting seeds and nurturing them all the way to maturity, where you can then use the harvest, is amazing. I like to garden all organically and work with the earth rather than against it like you do when using harsh synthetic chemicals like commercial fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides. You can even garden on a small apartment balcony by growing in pots and containers or in windowsills. If you want to do something to connect and help the earth on a more ongoing basis, you can choose to try living as sustainably and eco-friendly as you can. This is something that takes a bit of time and isn't done overnight, but can be a big help to the environment. Reduce your consumption, reuse what you can, and recycle what you can't. Start composting, pick up litter, plant trees, buy less and more sustainably, and fix and mend everything you can. I've really been trying to live a lot more sustainably and eco-friendlier the last few years, and I'm doing better and better as time goes on. Knot magic is often tied to the element of earth too. You can use knot magic in many ways, such as weaving a ball of ivy for protection, making a witch's ladder, tying a knot in a piece of string to help you remember something, or binding pretty much any intention by tying it into a knot. If you're crafty, you can of course take knot magic a step further and crochet, knit, or weave energy into something beautiful by putting the magic in as you create. You can also cleanse items with earth by setting them in a bowl of soil or even burying them for a period of time. Speaking of, some spells will call for burying items in the earth for one reason or another. If you do this, please only bury items that are naturally biodegradable. For example, don't bury paraffin candles because those are made of plastic. I often hear of burying spell bottles in jars, and a much more earth-friendly way to do this, instead of using glass and metal jar, you could use something like a paper towel tube. You can fold one end closed, add all the ingredients, and fold the other end to seal it closed. You wouldn't need to use glue or anything to keep it sealed, but you could seal it with a natural wax like beeswax if you wanted. If you prefer working with energies rather than lots of physical materials, you can use visualization. You can simply visualize the different earth correspondences like the color green, the animals, the plants, the crystals, and more. If you are really good with visualization, you can even set up an entire altar in your mind with different items on it. When you are creating workings, you can layer all these different aspects together to form a spell or ritual that is more personal and more powerful. For example, you could make a spell bottle when the moon is in an earth sign and add a custom sigil written in green pen, some earth-related herbs and crystals, use knot magic to tie a charm around the bottleneck, and seal it with green beeswax. You could even do like I suggested before and use a paper towel tube instead of a bottle and then bury it after creating it. The possibilities are truly endless. Some people will find it naturally easier or more difficult to connect to each of the elements. It takes time to build a relationship with each of them, so be patient and keep working, and your abilities will develop as you continue to progress on your path. I'll leave you with this quote: "Treat the earth well. It was not given to you by your parents. It was loaned to you by your children. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children." Ancient proverb. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this and learned something new. If you aren't already subscribed, I'd love it if you would do so. My current goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers, and I'd love it if you would help me with that. You can also hit the bell icon if you want to be notified every time I upload a new video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Blessings! Bye!